with the Republican National Convention. When it opens in Dallas, a Region 10 News team will be there with live reports at 5 and 10, plus special reports at noon and 6. We're committed to cover the convention better than anybody in Central Texas. CBS and Region 10 News. We'll both be there live, the #1 professionals. That's why, when it's important, Central Texas turns to Region 10 News.
Channel 10 in Waco, this is KWTX-TV.
From Dallas, the site of the 1984 Republican Convention, this is the CBS Evening News. Bob Schieffer reporting. Good evening. The GOP convention gets underway Monday, and many of the delegates are already here, but it is the Democrats.
Men, dust off your straw hats. Prepare to step back in time to the turn of the century at the 1984 art auction. Picnic at the House. On August 25th, join us for a stroll around the gazebo, entertaining music, good food, and the opportunity to bid on a spectacular array of art auctions at the Art Center. The festivities will begin at 6 p.m. For more information, call the Art Center.
Mr. Webb, would you like this gift wrap?
Yes, please.
Will it be cash or charge?
Oh, I'll pay cash with my interest checks from First Federal. You too may have the benefits of a First Federal checking account. They're simple to use. Write checks wherever you shop and receive interest on your balance. That's why their checking accounts are called interest checks. And it only takes $100 to open a checking account at First Federal of Waco. Visit any convenient First Federal office and open your interest checks account.
KWTX-TV in Waco, Channel 10.
From Dallas, Texas, where the Republican National Convention gets underway tomorrow, this is the CBS Evening News. Morton Dean reporting. Good evening. With the national political spotlight on the troubles within the Democratic campaign, the Republican delegates arrived here united, buoyant, and confident of victory in November. President Reagan will make his triumphal arrival in Dallas on Wednesday. Today, he was campaigning in the Farm Belt, and Bill Plant.
You read it. No way, Sam, you read it. Well, what does Mr. Reddycliffe have to say about our old TV show?
Well, he really liked Wally, and he says that everybody knew Eddie Haskell.
Oh, how considerate.
Eddie was a creep, but we loved watching him. He was oily, a real skunk. He thought he was cool, but he really wasn't.
Okay, Shakespeare, pipe down. You call this creep a writer?
Stephen Reddycliffe has grown up with TV. If you're not turning to him before you turn on your set, you should ask, what does the Herald say?
Affirmative. Computer has rerouted through the...
Every person who works at General Telephone is a highly trained professional, dedicated to giving you the best phone service possible. And in the future, you can expect these people to keep on helping you as they've done before. Something reassuring to know, especially with all the changes going on in the phone business. It's just that in the midst of all these changes, we thought we'd take the time to show you the one important thing that won't change.
For as long as anyone can remember, the Dallas Morning News and the Dallas Times-Herald have been fighting it out for #1. With the whole world coming here for the convention, the focus and intensity of this great paper war will change dramatically for a few days. Each of these papers has gone to extraordinary lengths to demonstrate that it is first caliber, a better paper, the #1 paper. Who are they trying to impress? Well, their readers for sure. But for these few short convention days, it is also the press they will try to impress. Representatives of virtually every news-gathering service in the world will assemble in Dallas this week. Everybody from reporters to media moguls. With the outcome of the convention an absolute certainty, the biggest shootout they're likely to see is the one between the Dallas Morning News and the Dallas Times-Herald. Our plan, then, is to cover the convention gavel to gavel. But we also plan to cover this latest one-week skirmish in the great Dallas paper wars. Join us then all week at 6 and 10 as we report on the Dallas newspapers making the news.
It's time, seriously.
Good evening, I'm Rochelle Brad.
There's new zip-on snake licking. Brother, don't leave home without.
Have a slight mishap with your car? Gordon Riley is there. The water stop before your boat did? Gordon Riley is there. Someone visit your home and all they left was the home? Gordon Riley is there. Even when life just begins, Gordon Riley is there. Make Gordon Riley your insurance man. He's there just when you need him.
The Subaru hatchback costs less than the Honda Civic, less than Nissan, less than Toyota, Mazda, Volkswagen, and Mitsubishi. In fact, the Subaru hatchback is the lowest priced car in America, with one exception.
Waco Subaru 3000 IH35 South. Channel 10 in Waco, this is KWTX-TV.
Day one of the Republican National Convention from Dallas. Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting tonight from CBS News Convention headquarters in Dallas. And on this convention opening day, deep in the 100-plus degree heart of Texas, the high hopes, hype, and hoopla here were eclipsed by the long-awaited opening by the Democrats back east, the opening up to public view of Geraldine Ferraro and husband John Siccaro's tax returns. They disclosed today that they are sending the government a check for more than $59,000, I should say more than $53,000, in back taxes and interest. They blame it all on a 1978 tax mistake. Eric Ingberg begins our coverage of today's hurly-burly over what's in the Ferraro family financial disclosures and the controversy over what's still left out.
The Ferraro-Zaccaro federal tax returns were given out to the press even as accountants for the campaign struggled to meet today's deadline for disclosing the candidates' finances, a struggle that ran late into the day. The returns show that Zaccaro, a New York real estate developer, last year reported a gross income of just over $200,000. He says he paid nearly $95,000 in total taxes. For the past 5 years, he has reported income of more than $500,000 and paid taxes of about $220,000. Ferraro, filing separately over the last 5 years, reported little income beyond her congressional salary. On about $69,000 income last year, she paid about $27,000 in taxes. All of this is considered normal by the consultant hired by CBS News to examine the returns. The Arthur Young accounting firm hired by the campaign to go over the returns found one big mistake. In '78, the last year the couple filed a joint return, Ferraro sold a piece of New York property. Through an error they blame on the original accountant, the sale price was underreported to the IRS by $62,000. The couple is sending the government a check for $53,000, nearly half of that interest, to settle up. While that doubles their tax payment for '78, it falls well short of the huge amounts being speculated on in the media in recent days. Minutes from the deadline, a Mondale campaign lawyer delivered to the Federal Election Commission Ferraro's disclosure statement. The Mondale-Ferraro campaign, which has been mired down for a week in the tax return question, now hopes it can go on the offensive. But some of the financial questions raised about Ferraro were not even addressed today. And an army of investigative reporters and political foes, tax returns in hand, will now be hunting for any signs of past questionable financial dealings. Dan?
Eric, what does this mean for the Mondale-Ferraro campaign? Where does it go from here?
Well, Dan, as you know, for the past several weeks, Mrs. Ferraro has been telling the press that this issue would be cleared up once her tax returns were released and once today had gone by. But that is clearly not the question. There are still many matters that remain unsettled, many charges that remain unanswered. The campaign is clearly aware of that and has taken the extraordinary step of making Ms. Ferraro available tomorrow in New York for long-term questioning about anything the press wants to ask about. She made the unusual promise of saying she would stay there and answer questions as long as the press wanted to ask questions. Now, this campaign has been granted what one editorialist called the gift of August. That is, its big trouble has come at a time when the public is not fully focused on the presidential campaign, and campaign managers clearly want to get this trouble behind them while August is still here.
Thank you, Eric. As you know, Richard Wagner also has been investigating the new information of today's Ferraro family tax returns and whether the numbers add up to new controversy.
TV in Waco, Channel 10.
Live from the Republican National Convention in Dallas, this is a special edition of Region 10 News, The Late Report. With anchor John Carroll and reporter Ken Sullivan at the Dallas Convention Center. And anchor Robin Johnson in Waco.
Good evening. This is John Carroll live at the Republican National Convention in Dallas. Well, if you can't tell, behind me, the delegates and all those who are visiting tonight, the first night session of the Republican National Convention, they're now trailing out of the convention hall. It's been what they tab a successful night. You see, they didn't want to be left behind, and 3 of the top 4 speakers were women tonight. The Republicans are sending a message to the Democrats and the United States that they will not be left behind. Women will play a very important role in their party as well. But the person who spoke tonight that has most meaning to Central Texans is Congressman Phil Gramm. The boll weevil Congressman Phil Gramm of College Station addressed the Republican National Convention tonight. And when the Republican Senate candidate was announced and he approached the podium, the crowd here went wild. Gramm is seeking Senator John Tower's seat this fall as Tower retires. And it was quite obvious from the reaction of the convention assembly that Gramm is now an accepted party leader. In the short 7-minute speech, Gramm praised the Reagan administration for its past 4 years, but he also attacked the Mondale-Ferraro ticket.
Let there be no doubt about the fact that we do not intend to go back to the failed policies of the Carter-Mondale administration. I agree with Walter Mondale. If he's elected, he's got to raise taxes. How else could he fulfill the $90 billion worth of campaign promises that he's made to every special interest group in the country?
Although the Democrats are the party with the women on the ticket, it was quite evident tonight that Republicans are looking as well to the future by entertaining 2 top women political figures in the first evening session of this convention. Tonight, the speaker that attracted the most attention was United Nations Ambassador Jeane Kirkpatrick. A lifelong Democrat, Kirkpatrick said she was attending her first Republican convention. And although she stopped short of joining the GOP, it was evident she is not happy with the Democratic ticket, and she backs President Ronald Reagan for re-election.
The elements of our strength are many. They include our democratic government, our economic system, our great natural resources, but the basic source of our strength is spiritual. We believe in the dignity of man.
Well, President Ronald Reagan is not in Dallas at this time. He's due in this next Wednesday or in the next 2 days. But his running mate, Vice President George Bush, is in Dallas. Came into Dallas to court the delegates 3 days before the president. At a press conference for the Texas media this afternoon to the Reagan-Bush campaign, he said that he is confident the administration will win out.
The majority of Texans know that our administration, the Reagan-Bush administration, has America on the move. And in international affairs, we have earned the respect and title to a great nation. And for these reasons, I believe, and others too, I believe that we will carry this state. We're going to work very, very hard. There is no apathy. There is no overconfidence in my view. But for these reasons, I believe we can carry this state.
So the vice president will be working the floor, as he calls it, during this special session or this session of the convention, particularly aiming his White House diplomacy, he says, at the minority delegates at this convention. The Texas delegation to the Republican National Convention numbers some 200 delegates. Those 218 delegates were up very early today. They were caucusing before the opening gavel had even sounded. Ken Sullivan has our report.
Unity was the motivating factor this morning at the Texas Delegation Caucus, a solid show of support for the Reagan administration.